On a chilly November night in 2024, the quiet town of Burlington, Vermont, was rocked by a brutal crime that stunned the local community and captured national attention. Michael Reynolds, a 38-year-old software engineer known for his reserved personality and successful career, committed an unimaginable act. He murdered his wife, Laura Reynolds, 36, and his best friend, David Carter, 39. The crime, which unfolded during a live Instagram broadcast, turned a seemingly ordinary moment into a tragedy that gripped millions. What began as a casual dinner among friends, filled with conversation and laughter, unraveled into the culmination of a complex web of betrayal, jealousy, and simmering resentment built up over months. Laura, a passionate literature teacher, and David, a charismatic financial consultant, were beloved figures in the community, making the crime's impact even more devastating. The live stream, initially watched by dozens of followers, quickly spread across social media, sparking a wave of speculation and debate. This report seeks to reconstruct the events leading to that fateful night, meticulously examining the profiles of those involved, the social and emotional context surrounding them, and the deep-seated motivations that triggered this irreparable tragedy. Michael Reynolds was a reserved man, widely recognized for his relentless dedication to his job at the Burlington branch of a renowned tech company. Raised in a middle-class family in the town, he grew up in an environment shaped by traditional values, regularly attending the local Methodist church during his childhood and adolescence. In high school, he excelled academically, with a particular aptitude for the sciences, paving the way for a career in software engineering. His appearance was unremarkable and understated, thinning brown hair, metal-framed glasses, and a lean physique that drew little attention. Beneath this facade, however, lay an intensely analytical mind, capable of solving complex problems with ease. Michael was introspective, preferring to observe rather than speak, and those who knew him well described him as loyal but intense. Close friends noted his tendency to hold grudges for long periods, quietly ruminating on resentments, which sometimes created subtle tensions in his personal relationships. Laura Reynolds, his wife, was Michael's opposite in personality. Charismatic and vibrant, she had wavy blonde hair framing an expressive face, complemented by a warm smile that captivated those around her. As a marketing manager at an organic food startup, Laura blended creativity and strategic skill, earning respect in her professional circle. Outside of work, she was the life of any social gathering, with a contagious laugh that echoed at dinners and friend meetups. Her natural ability to connect people made her a central figure in her social circle. However, colleagues and close friends noticed, in quieter moments, that Laura seemed restless, as if searching for something beyond the predictable routine of her suburban life in Burlington. This restlessness, though subtle, was evident to those who knew her well. David Carter, Michael's best friend, was a prominent figure in the local community. A successful real estate broker, he had built a solid career leveraging his natural charisma and ability to gain clients' trust. Tall, with well-defined features and a relaxed charm, David had a presence that rarely went unnoticed. He and Michael met in college, where shared experiences forged a lasting friendship. David was the godfather of Ethan, Michael and Laura's 8-year-old son, and his presence in the Reynolds home was a constant, attending barbecues, holidays, and family events. Despite his popularity and ease in relationships, David had a reputation for impulsiveness, particularly in his romantic life. Friends noted his tendency to engage in intense but short-lived relationships, which sometimes caused conflicts in his social circle. Still, his loyalty to Michael and Laura appeared unquestionable, at least on the surface. Burlington, a charming city in Vermont with a population of about 42,000, is widely known for its progressive, vibrant, and welcoming atmosphere. Famous for its farmers market, which draws locals and tourists on weekends, and the stunning views of Lake Champlain, the city blends historic charm with a modern mindset. The Hills Section neighborhood, where Michael and Laura lived, was an upper-middle-class enclave characterized by elegant Victorian-style homes with adorned porches and preserved architectural details. Immaculately manicured lawns and tree-lined streets conveyed a sense of safety and serenity, attracting families who valued both aesthetics and stability. Socially, the community was tight-knit, with events like neighborhood picnics and charity fairs strengthening bonds among residents. However, beneath this harmony lay a subtle but palpable pressure to maintain a certain social status, manifested in discrete comparisons of professional achievements, children's education, and lifestyle. Economically, Burlington thrived as a hub for small tech firms, innovative startups, and a robust tourism industry, driven by the region's natural beauty and proximity to ski resorts. The city attracted skilled professionals like Michael, who worked at a local tech company branch, and Laura, a marketing manager at an organic food startup. Despite economic growth, competition for social prestige was real. Families like the Reynolds invested heavily in top-tier private schools for their children, ski resort vacations in Vermont's mountains, and active participation in community events like charity galas and book clubs to reinforce their place in the city's social hierarchy. Michael and Laura lived a comfortable life, with a combined annual income of about $180,000, placing them among Burlington's more affluent residents. Their home, a 4-bedroom property valued at roughly $600,000, was a symbol of the American dream. The house featured a spacious kitchen with quartz countertops and state-of-the-art appliances, a well-maintained backyard with a swing for their son Ethan, and a roomy 2-car garage. The interior decor, with contemporary furniture and framed family photos, reflected a carefully curated lifestyle. Yet, behind this facade of perfection, signs of instability simmered. Laura's startup faced financial challenges, with rumors of layoffs and struggles to attract investors. Michael, though successful in his software engineering career, felt increasingly unmotivated, spending long hours on repetitive projects that failed to challenge him intellectually, contributing to a growing sense of stagnation in both his professional and personal life. Michael and Laura Reynolds met in 2008 at a lively music festival in the heart of Burlington, Vermont. Michael, fresh out of college with a computer science degree and adjusting to professional life, was instantly captivated by Laura's infectious energy, which seemed to light up any room. Their connection was immediate, marked by long conversations and shared laughter to the sound of local bands. After 2 years of a memorable courtship filled with walks along Lake Champlain and weekend trips to the mountains, they decided to tie the knot. Their 2010 wedding was an outdoor ceremony at the picturesque Shelburne Farms, with stunning views and a romantic atmosphere. David Carter, Michael's close college friend, served as best man, symbolizing the trust and closeness he shared with the couple. The birth of Ethan in 2016 added new meaning to their relationship, with the promise of a united, happy family. To many, Michael and Laura seemed the ideal couple, balancing promising careers with a warm home life. However, over the years, friends and family began noticing signs of distance between them. Laura, who once shared every aspect of her life with Michael, started expressing frustrations about his personality. "He's so predictable," she confided to a coworker. "Always on the computer, never wanting to go out or do something different." She missed the spontaneity that had defined their early years. Michael, meanwhile, felt Laura was increasingly consumed by social events and her startup career demands. He sensed she often prioritized work or friends over family, creating subtle tensions that began to form an invisible barrier between them. The 2020 pandemic, with its restrictions and drastic changes, intensified these frustrations. Michael, working remotely, buried himself in tasks as a way to cope with isolation. Laura, meanwhile, faced mounting pressure from her startup's financial instability and layoffs. The forced confinement, coupled with the responsibilities of raising Ethan and maintaining their careers, exposed cracks previously masked by their busy pre-pandemic routines. The first signs of trouble in Michael and Laura's relationship emerged in mid-2023, when subtle but significant shifts began to appear in their personal and social dynamics. Michael, always detail-oriented, noticed Laura spending considerable time with David Carter, the couple's best friend. David, with his natural charm and constant presence, frequently accompanied Laura to networking events organized by her startup. These events, often stretching late into the night, were justified by Laura as part of her professional duties. "It's just work," she reassured Michael, her tone aiming to soothe. Yet, Michael began noticing small gestures that deeply unsettled him, exchanged glances between Laura and David at social gatherings, shared laughter that seemed to exclude others, and messages on Laura's phone that, while seemingly innocent, carried an intimacy that made him uneasy. In one particularly striking instance, Michael stumbled across a message from David on Laura's phone that read, "You light up any room. I don't know how he doesn't see that." When confronted, Laura laughed it off, dismissing the comment as David being an affectionate friend who liked to compliment her. Despite her explanation, Michael remained unconvinced, and the seed of suspicion began to take root. The relationship between Michael and David, once marked by close, easygoing camaraderie, also began to deteriorate. Previously inseparable, sharing college memories and family moments as Ethan's godfather, the two men started avoiding deeper conversations, sticking to superficial interactions. Consumed by suspicion, Michael began monitoring Laura's social media with increasing frequency. He noticed she and David appeared together in photos with unsettling regularity, whether at corporate events, friend dinners, or casual posts capturing moments of apparent closeness. His distrust was fueled by small incidents that, individually, might seem trivial but collectively formed a disturbing pattern. One night, Laura came home late after what she described as a work dinner. Her hair was noticeably disheveled, and her flushed face suggested something beyond a professional meeting. Though she explained the event ran long and the atmosphere was lively, Michael felt a tightening in his chest, unable to shake the sense that something was being hidden. The confirmation of Laura and David's affair came in September 2024, just 2 months before the tragic events that would shake Burlington. Driven by months of consuming suspicion, Michael decided to investigate further. Using an old password Laura hadn't changed, he accessed her email account in a moment of privacy. What he found was a devastating exchange of messages with David, exposing the truth he had dreaded. The emails, dating back months, detailed an affair that began in March 2024 during a professional conference in Boston, where Laura and David shared moments that marked the start of their forbidden relationship. In one message, Laura wrote with a vulnerability that contrasted with her public persona, "You make me feel alive again." David's response was equally intense, filled with promises suggesting a future together. "If you're ready, I am. We can make this work." The words, laden with emotion and secrecy, revealed not only the depth of their involvement, but also the double betrayal Michael faced from both his wife and his best friend. The discovery shattered Michael, leaving him in a state of emotional shock. Instead of confronting Laura immediately, he chose silence, observing her and David's movements while processing the pain of betrayal. Psychologically, Michael entered a state of dissociation, oscillating between intense anger that made him clench his fists in private and a cold apathy that disconnected him from his emotions. He began diving into online research about infidelity, spending hours browsing anonymous forums where people shared similar stories of betrayal. Michael absorbed every detail, reading accounts of others in similar situations and watching YouTube videos discussing personal justice and ways to cope with infidelity. His obsession grew daily, fueled by a desire to understand and perhaps find a way to regain control of his life. Despite the internal turmoil, Michael maintained an impressive facade of normalcy. He continued playing the role of a devoted father, taking Ethan to soccer games on weekends, smiling at other parents, and cheering for his son, all while carrying the weight of his pain in secret. Michael Reynolds displayed traits of a rigidly structured personality, characterized by a strong tendency to internalize emotions, bottling up frustration and pain rather than expressing them openly. Psychologists who analyzed his behavior post-crime suggested he lived under chronic stress, exacerbated by the pressures of his software engineering career and the challenging dynamics of his marriage. The discovery of Laura's affair with David was a devastating blow, further eroding his already fragile self-esteem. Michael saw David not just as a friend who betrayed him, but as a direct threat to his identity, embodying everything he felt he lacked: charm, confidence, and the ability to captivate Laura. This perception fueled a cycle of self-criticism and resentment, which he suppressed under a veneer of control but which consumed him internally. Laura, on the other hand, showed clear signs of chronic dissatisfaction permeating her personal life. Interviews with close friends after the incident revealed she often felt trapped in a marriage that, while stable, failed to meet her deeper emotional needs. Laura craved connection, spontaneity, and a sense of renewal that seemed to have faded over the years with Michael. Her affair with David transcended mere physical attraction. It was largely a desperate search for validation and a version of herself she felt she had lost. David, with his charismatic personality and ability to make Laura feel seen and valued, temporarily filled that void. However, David brought his own emotional complexities to the relationship. Known for a history of unstable relationships and impulsive decisions, he appeared, according to acquaintances, genuine in his feelings for Laura. Yet, his impulsiveness led him to disregard the severe consequences of romantically involving himself with his best friend's wife, ignoring the impact on both Laura's marriage and his long-standing friendship with Michael. In October 2024, tensions in Michael's and Laura's relationship began to escalate more noticeably as Michael indirectly addressed his suspicions, testing Laura's reactions without openly confronting her. During a quiet dinner at home, with Ethan already asleep, Michael, in a seemingly casual but pointed tone, asked a question that caught Laura off guard. "Have you ever thought about what it'd be like to start over with someone else?" The question, though posed as a general reflection, clearly stemmed from his insecurities and the betrayal he had uncovered. Laura, visibly startled, hesitated before responding vaguely. "Sometimes, but life's complicated, right?" Her evasive reply, likely an attempt to avoid conflict, had the opposite effect on Michael. He interpreted her words as a veiled admission of her feelings for David, intensifying his anger and deepening the emotional chasm between them. From that moment, Michael became even more vigilant, interpreting every gesture or word from Laura as potential confirmation of her infidelity. Meanwhile, David Carter, seemingly unaware of the full extent of Michael's suspicions, continued visiting the Reynolds home as usual, maintaining his routine of dropping by for dinners or casual family moments. During one such visit, as the three shared a bottle of wine in the living room, Michael observed an interaction that set him on edge, a subtle touch between Laura and David, perhaps a brush of hands while passing the bottle or a glance that lingered a second too long. To Michael, this fleeting gesture, however discreet, was undeniable proof of their intimacy. Unable to contain his anguish, he abruptly left the room, leaving Laura and David in awkward silence. Concerned by Michael's reaction, Laura sent David a text minutes later. "I think he knows." David's quick, confident reply revealed his underestimation of Michael's emotional state. "If he knows, we'll deal with it together." These messages, later recovered by police during the investigation, showed that both Laura and David acknowledged the possibility that Michael was aware of the affair but failed to anticipate the depth of his reaction, or the dark path he was beginning to tread. The motivations driving Michael Reynolds to commit the extreme act in November 2024 went far beyond simple revenge. For him, Laura and David's betrayal represented a devastating loss of control over his own life, a cornerstone of his identity. As a software engineer accustomed to solving complex problems with logic and precision, the affair plunged him into chaotic emotional territory where he felt powerless. In a small, interconnected community like Burlington, where rumors and gossip spread quickly, Michael perceived the affair as a public humiliation threatening his reputation and social standing. The prospect of losing Laura, with whom he had built a life, and Ethan, his 8-year-old son, to David, his best friend and Ethan's godfather, was unbearable. Each thought of the future, imagining Laura and David together, publicly assuming a relationship while he was left behind, intensified his anguish. His choice to act during an Instagram live stream was not random. It suggested a deep desire to turn his pain into a spectacle, exposing the betrayal to the world and reclaiming, in a distorted way, control over his life's narrative. He wanted everyone to see the truth consuming him, even if it meant crossing a point of no return. Laura and David, meanwhile, were driven by a mix of intense passion and dangerous denial of their actions' consequences. Their relationship, sparked in a moment of vulnerability during a Boston conference, grew fueled by an emotional connection both felt was missing elsewhere in their lives. For Laura, David represented an escape from the predictable routine of her marriage, a chance to rediscover excitement and validation she felt had vanished. For David, with his history of impulsive relationships, Laura seemed to offer a deeper connection, something he believed was genuine. However, both gravely underestimated the affair's impact, naively believing they could keep it secret indefinitely or, in the future, go public without significant repercussions. This blind confidence, coupled with their failure to anticipate Michael's devastated reaction, revealed a disconnect from reality that proved fatal. Michael Reynolds spent 3 meticulous weeks planning the crime that would shock Burlington. Determined to execute his intentions, he took calculated steps to ensure everything went as planned. In mid-October 2024, Michael purchased a Glock 19 pistol from a local gun shop, using his legal concealed carry permit, which he had held for years but rarely used. Police records later revealed he began visiting a shooting range outside Burlington, an unusual activity for someone who previously showed little interest in firearms. During these sessions, Michael practiced his aim, familiarizing himself with the pistol's handling, indicating his intent to act with precision. He also manipulated the setting where the crime would occur. Michael adjusted the security camera in the Reynolds dining room, carefully repositioning it to capture the main table in a clear, wide angle. He conducted tests with Instagram's live stream feature using his personal account to verify video quality and connection stability, ensuring the event would be visible to viewers. On the night of November 10, 2024, Michael put his plan into motion with an approach that masked his true intentions. He invited David Carter to a dinner at the Reynolds home, framing it as a moment of reconciliation to ease the tensions he himself had fueled. In a conversation with Laura, Michael suggested the dinner could be a chance to put tensions behind them, proposing they live-stream the event on Instagram, a practice the couple had used for past celebrations like birthdays or holidays. Laura, relieved by Michael's apparent willingness to move past recent conflicts, agreed without suspecting his hidden motives. To ensure their 8-year-old son Ethan was not present, Michael arranged for him to spend the night at his grandfather's house, claiming it would be an adults-only evening. At 7 p.m. on November 10, 2024, the Instagram livestream began at the Reynolds home in Burlington, Vermont. The opening scene was warm, almost idyllic, reminiscent of a typical American family gathering. The dining table, meticulously set, featured a golden roasted turkey, creamy mashed potatoes, vegetable dishes, and a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, its ruby hue glinting under the dining room's soft lighting. Laura Reynolds, wearing a blue sweater that highlighted her eyes, smiled warmly at the camera, greeting viewers with her usual friendliness. Beside her, David Carter, relaxed in a polo shirt, shared a humorous anecdote about a recent real estate sale, eliciting laughter from Laura. Michael Reynolds, meanwhile, maintained a neutral, almost impassive expression as he poured wine into crystal glasses, moving with a calm that concealed his true intentions. To the 237 viewers watching, the evening seemed like just another friendly gathering. At 7:20 p.m., the atmosphere shifted abruptly. Michael, who had been mostly silent, changed his tone and fixed his gaze on the camera, a move that caught viewers' attention. With cold clarity, he declared, "I want to talk about loyalty." Laura, caught off guard, furrowed her brow, visibly confused by her husband's sudden shift. David, sensing the tension, tried to diffuse it with a light comment. "Mike, relax, it's just dinner." But Michael ignored the attempt to de-escalate. He pulled out his phone, where he had saved screenshots, and began reading excerpts from messages exchanged between Laura and David, exposing details of their affair. His voice, laden with emotion, trembled with rage as the words echoed through the room. Viewers, initially thinking it was a prank or stage drama, flooded the live stream with frantic comments expressing shock and curiosity. At 7:25 p.m., the tension reached its peak. Michael, with a swift motion, drew the Glock 19 pistol hidden under the table. Laura, in panic, screamed, "Mike, for God's sake, stop!" Her voice was a mix of desperation and disbelief. David, realizing the situation's gravity, attempted to stand, but Michael fired twice, hitting him in the chest. David collapsed, motionless. Laura, in a reflex of self-preservation, ran toward the dining room door, but Michael pursued her with determination. He fired 3 times into her back, and Laura fell to the floor. The live stream, watched live by 237 people, ended abruptly when Michael, with a blank expression, turned off the camera, concluding the tragic spectacle that would shock the nation. At the moment of the crime, Michael was in a state of controlled fury. He did not act on impulse but with disturbing clarity. His choice to broadcast the crime suggests a desire for public validation, as if he wanted the world to understand his pain. After the shootings, he sat at the table, staring at the bodies, before calling the police and surrendering. Burlington police arrived at the scene at 7:40 p.m. after multiple calls from live stream viewers. Michael was found in the dining room, disarmed, with his hands on his head. The scene was described as devastating by one officer. The gun, messages on Michael's phone, and the live stream recording provided irrefutable evidence. The investigation confirmed Michael acted alone, with no accomplices. Forensic experts verified the shots were precise, indicating prior practice. The autopsy showed David died instantly, while Laura survived for a few minutes, succumbing to blood loss. The crime stunned Burlington. Ethan's school organized counseling sessions, and the local church held a memorial service for Laura and David. Friends of the Reynolds expressed disbelief, many saying they never imagined Michael capable of this. Ethan, now in the care of his maternal grandparents, faces severe trauma. Psychologists report he avoids speaking about his parents, but drawings made in therapy depict dark figures and dinner scenes, reflecting the event's impact. Michael was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. During his March 2025 trial, he pleaded guilty, avoiding the death penalty but receiving life imprisonment without parole. His attorney argued he acted under extreme emotional distress, but the prosecution emphasized premeditation as an aggravating factor. The case of Michael, Laura, and David exposes the complexities of human relationships. Betrayal, humiliation, and a desire for control converged in an act of violence that could have been prevented. The live stream, a modern element, amplified the impact, turning a personal tragedy into a public spectacle. This crime serves as a reminder that behind the facades of perfect lives lie pains and conflicts that, when ignored, can erupt in devastating ways.